General Hospital spoilers reveal that in the volatile backdrop of Port Charles, where political schemes, personal agendas, and power dynamics weave together like a tangled web, a new story is quietly reshaping the order everyone thought had already been decided. This is the calculated, silent journey of Sonny, a man who once ruled the underworld with violence and reputation, now reinventing his position through a new strategy, more sophisticated, more discreet, and far more dangerous than anything he's ever done before. Sonny is no longer the man who commands with an iron fist, bangs the table, or controls Port Charles through guns and threats. He has realized that true power lies in being able to make the entire city move in his direction, without anyone realizing he's pulling the strings. And when the referendum vote on the Esplanade project threatens ownership of the docks, Sonny doesn't choose a direct confrontation. Instead, he steps back, not to surrender, but to prepare an entirely new battlefield, where he reclaims control through a series of secret deals, alliances, and expanding influence across Port Charles. What makes this more remarkable is that these new agreements aren't signed on paper. They are born from Sonny's deep obsession with preserving everything he's built with blood, intellect, and loyalty over the years. The docks are more than just real estate, they symbolize power, presence, and the origin of everything, from covering up underground activities to creating the legal business facade known as Corinthos Coffee. When that land is threatened by someone like Drew, now being smeared by his former allies, Sonny knows he can no longer let others decide his fate. It's in that moment he begins to quietly negotiate with overlooked key players in the system, shadow investors behind the Esplanade project, neutral city council members, even a few names in the local press hungry for a scandal in exchange for exclusive information. He doesn't bribe them the old way. Instead, he offers choices: what's more worth the trade, what ensures long-term survival, and what keeps them in power when every other side collapses. Sonny's new form of control is never spoken outright, but it's felt in every strategic move. As Drew begins to get exposed for his scandal with Jacinda, and as Nina and Portia lose control amid internal cracks, it is Sonny, the one presumed to be fading, who remains standing. He doesn't need to speak or take the stage, because those who once opposed him are now weakening each other, while they fight for fame, power, and position. Sonny silently draws each chain of power closer, one by one. Those who once sat across the table now sit beside him, signing new deals sealed with silence and a nod. Sonny's obsession, once seen as a weakness, is now the driving force behind his refusal to let go. He knows that if he loses everything this time, there will be nothing left to return to. That awareness transforms him into a rising force, not with weapons, but with cold determination and sharp intellect. The new agreements he's securing not only allow him to hold on to the docks, but also open new channels of control, covert shares in the Esplanade Development Company, pledges of cooperation from investors fleeing Drew, and even incriminating audio recordings of conversations between Portia, Nina, and Jacinda, quietly obtained through Sonny's tech operatives. And when everything is laid out on the table, only one truth remains undeniable: Sonny has regained control of Port Charles, not by making people fear him, but by becoming the only person they can trust. The man who has never been defeated, not by betrayal, manhunts, or accusations, has once again reasserted his dominance. That obsession, that refusal to fail, has become a force that disappears in the storm, only to return as a silent hurricane sweeping away every opponent. And this time, when Sonny takes his seat at the power table, no one will mistake his silence for weakness. Because they've forgotten one thing: true control isn't held by the loudest voice, but by the last one still standing when everyone else has fallen. Meanwhile, Drew is revealing an ambition that goes far beyond conventional politics, as he focuses all his attention on an unexpected strategic target. Corinthos Coffee, a business long seen as a legitimate company in Port Charles, but in reality, the secret financial lifeline of Sonny's power empire. Drew doesn't see Corinthos Coffee as just a brand. He sees it as the key to dismantling Sonny's entire support system, a move calculated politically, financially, and reputationally. His military background and connections within the government give him access to people who can apply pressure from the outside. He exploits financial regulations, anti-money laundering programs, and Sonny's waning public image to pave the way for a silent but ruthless attack. But Drew underestimates Sonny's seasoned survival instinct, the man who has never allowed anything to be taken from him easily. Instead of panicking, Sonny quickly grasps that this is not just a conflict of interests, but a life-or-death battle over honor, legacy, and the survival of his family. As Drew intensifies pressure through government agencies, banks, and media to portray Corinthos Coffee as a hub of shady financial activity, Sonny launches an unexpected counterattack, using the company itself as a weapon. He begins a full-scale transformation of Corinthos Coffee, not by hiding it, but by turning it into a new symbol of transparency, renewal, and community. He restructures the executive team, launches community media campaigns, partners with nonprofits, and funds educational programs and living condition improvements in working-class areas. Corinthos Coffee becomes more than a coffee brand, it becomes a symbol of measurable change. Living proof that Sonny is no longer the criminal mastermind of old. But beneath that surface, Sonny maintains his internal control systems, using the company's logistics network to track Drew's every move, from secret investor meetings to attempts at accessing hidden political funding. Then a major shock hits. Through covert tech channels and loyal former employees in the company's accounting department, Sonny uncovers a chain of encrypted documents showing that Drew secretly used international financial networks to funnel illegal contributions to his campaign. Worse, some of those funds came from organizations Drew publicly denounced as symbols of corruption and manipulation. This isn't just evidence, it's a fatal blow capable of destroying Drew's political career. Sonny doesn't go public with it immediately. He keeps it as an ace card, to bargain, manipulate, and control every step that follows. As Drew continues pushing investigations into Corinthos Coffee, Sonny quietly leaks pieces of the evidence to Drew's political allies, causing them to pull back support, reduce funding, or even shift allegiance to Sonny as a reputational safeguard. Now, every step Drew takes is tightly watched, and any misstep could trigger the biggest scandal of his career. Under growing pressure, Drew begins to crack. His closest allies fall silent. Some legal advisors withdraw from his team. Meanwhile, Sonny remains silent in public, but behind the scenes, he steadily regains economic ties, political support, and most importantly, the trust of the people through smartly coordinated humanitarian efforts via Corinthos Coffee. The redefinition of the company not only preserves Sonny's legacy, it transforms him into a symbol of redemption, strength, and ultimate control. The battle between Drew and Sonny is no longer just a personal rivalry, it represents two opposing paths in the struggle for power in Port Charles. On one side, political ambition willing to destroy everything for dominance. On the other, a man who once lived in darkness, now using that very past to rebuild a future no one expected. Corinthos Coffee wasn't taken. It became the final stronghold, and the most powerful weapon, for Sonny to reassert that he is still the only one capable of controlling Port Charles. Not with bullets, but with resolve and calm in the face of chaos. Sonny is entering a phase of complete reconstruction, not just of his personal image, but of the entire power structure that has defined him for decades. After a series of personal losses, betrayals by those closest to him, and political schemes targeting his business empire, Sonny has come to a realization: he can no longer survive using the old ways. He needs a new model, sharper, tighter, and most importantly, one that grants him absolute control. Restructuring his organization is no longer an option, it's a necessity. However, that process is anything but smooth. The initial changes, replacing mid-level personnel, reorganizing logistics, expanding legal business operations, have inadvertently triggered a fierce backlash from forces looking to exploit his temporary weakness. At the forefront is Drew and his political allies, who are quietly pushing financial investigations, pressuring regulatory agencies, and launching media campaigns to discredit Corinthos Coffee, Sonny's most crucial commercial front. The pressure is building, boxing Sonny into a corner. Every move he makes is monitored, twisted, or used as ammunition against him. And amid this chaos, Sonny makes an irreversible decision. He will reclaim Corinthos Coffee at all costs, even if it means starting a new war. To Sonny, the company isn't just a business, it's the last standing symbol of the order he built since the early days he set foot in Port Charles. Losing it would mean not just losing assets, but losing control, the foundation of any future he's trying to rebuild. Sonny doesn't act impulsively. He quietly establishes new ties with financial forces inside and outside of town, gathers compromising material on Drew, and strategically wins over wavering shareholders. While Drew believes he's gaining the upper hand through political pressure, Sonny is silently constructing a shadow alliance, composed of figures who once stayed out of the game but now return. Recognizing that Sonny is the only one who can keep Port Charles from falling into chaos, Sonny doesn't just want to regain the company, he wants to turn it into a fortress for this new era of reconstruction. This isn't just about profit or property, it's about honor, power, and reaffirming that Sonny remains irreplaceable, no matter how hunted, betrayed, or surrounded he becomes. As underground connections begin to reform, Drew's old enemies start shifting allegiance. And media leaks expose flaws in the takeover plot, a new war erupts, no longer just legal or political, but a clash of ideologies, one who seeks to tear it all down to rebuild in his image, and one who rebuilds from the ashes of a past others have tried to erase. Sonny isn't just ready. He's been ready. And this time, he doesn't need to win with violence. He just needs to restore the old order, where he's at the center, the conductor behind unseen negotiations that everyone fears, even if they don't hear his name. With Corinthos Coffee as the foundation, and a leaner, sharper, absolutely loyal network at his command, Sonny is entering what may be his final battle, not to preserve the past, but to construct a future no longer rooted in darkness, yet still shaped by the resilience of a man who once thrived in it. Nina and Sonny, after years of surviving chaos, crime, politics, and shattered relationships in Port Charles, once believed they deserved a peaceful ending. They dreamed of stepping away from it all, leaving behind power, reputation, and endless battles, to find a new place where no tabloids hounded them, no backstabbing allies lurked, and no enemies wore the faces of friends. They had talked about retiring, gradually transferring power at Corinthos Coffee, withdrawing from underground networks, and simply living a life that was truly theirs. But Port Charles has never been a place where people can retire peacefully, especially not two people whose power has left a mark on every corner of the town. And just as they began to let go, ready to walk away, a new storm surged, this time not hidden in the shadows, but openly aimed straight at them, without mercy. Drew, once an ally, once the face of reason, idealism, and morality, has changed. After being brought down by the very plot Nina and Portia orchestrated, Drew is no longer the man he used to be. He no longer seeks to restore his name through political civility or public trust via speeches and policies. He's become ruthless, cold, and most importantly, he's learned to weaponize his rage. His first strike is the return of Nina's former pawn, Jacinda, the woman who was once hired to drug and entrap Drew in a scandal that nearly cost him everything. Jacinda returns to Port Charles not as a victim, but as a witness, armed with confessions, digital evidence, and enough information to implicate Nina and Portia in a criminal prosecution. Drew doesn't need to say a word. He lets Jacinda speak. The media runs wild. The public draws its own conclusions. The damage is swift. Before Nina can react, her reputation is destroyed. Charities cut ties. Board invitations are withdrawn. Corinthos Coffee shareholders begin to question the company's future stability. And Sonny realizes the peaceful retreat they once hoped for is not only impossible, it's dangerous if they don't act immediately. In the chaos, Nina and Sonny are forced to do what they swore they wouldn't, return to the battlefield. But this time, it's not to defend the underworld or reclaim past power. This time, they fight for their own survival, because if Drew wins, everything they built, legal or not, will be wiped out. They join forces, not just as individuals with differences, But as a united front that understands survival isn't about who's right, but who strikes better, and lasts longer. The war begins with Sonny tightening Corinthos Coffee's entire logistics system, enhancing cybersecurity, and blocking infiltration attempts by Drew's allies. Nina restarts her media contacts, quietly meeting with journalists she once helped, feeding them counter-narratives, questioning Jacinda's motives, exposing Drew's ties to suspicious new donors, and launching a reverse legal campaign, suing Jacinda for defamation and misinformation. While the public scrambles to make sense of conflicting information, Sonny discreetly negotiates with neutral investors, those worried about Corinthos Coffee's future, securing key shares to ensure Drew can't interfere economically. Once ready to walk away from everything, Sonny now sees that if he doesn't reclaim Corinthos Coffee, he won't have any means left to protect Nina, the woman he once saw as part of his final peaceful dream. And Nina knows too, if she doesn't regain real control, she'll forever be judged by a single mistake, not by the entire journey of struggle and survival. They have no choice left. So they embrace a full-blown crisis war, where the lines blur between justice and revenge. Port Charles becomes a battleground once again. Drew believes he can manipulate justice with witnesses and evidence. But he forgets, Sonny and Nina never fight by ordinary rules. They may not be the most beloved, but they're the most enduring. And now, standing in the storm, amid shifting power and political backroom deals, they no longer dream of retirement. They have one goal left: take back everything that was once theirs, at any cost. After a long period of being besieged by covert schemes and political attacks from Drew, Sonny has finally launched a counteroffensive, by summoning an ally no one expected, Christina. Behind her youthful appearance and seemingly apolitical demeanor, Christina is the missing piece Sonny needs to complete his final move in the battle to reclaim Corinthos Coffee, not just a company, but the living symbol of the empire Sonny once ruled with both reputation and blood. Sonny's return to the battlefield may not be a surprise. But his choice to bring in Christina, a woman who embodies both the humanitarian mindset of a new generation and the upbringing steeped in power and shadows, marks a dramatic shift in the tide. Christina didn't come just to help. She arrived as a rightful heir, a figure meant to prove that the Corinthos bloodline is not merely a relic of the past but a force shaping the future. Sonny had sacrificed much to keep Corinthos Coffee afloat amidst turbulence. And as Drew moved in with political tricks and smear campaigns to seize it, it seemed Sonny had no way out. But now, with Christina at his side, he has more than just a new ally, he has a social political symbol with major influence among the younger public, many of whom once doubted Sonny but are now beginning to question Drew instead. Christina, armed with her community activism, social media savvy, and presence in public service projects, ignited a wave of public support for Corinthos Coffee, transforming it from a company under suspicion into a community-driven organization, a protector of workers, and, above all, a symbol that stands for Port Charles. Sonny's comeback strategy involves no violence, no force, just truth and justice as his weapons, a rare path in his long career. And that's precisely what caught Drew off guard. As Drew continued to deploy Jacinda to release old footage and testimonies meant to destroy Nina and drag Sonny down with her, it was Christina who identified inconsistencies, exposed contradictions in the evidence, and launched a legal counterattack, wielding the wisdom of someone who knows both worlds, the dark and the light. Public opinion steadily shifted. Corinthos Coffee began its recovery, not only in assets but in spirit, emerging as a fortress that cannot be toppled by rumors or political pressure alone. And as Sonny painstakingly rebuilds the foundation of his legacy, a new fear begins to close in around Drew. Once a man of power, Drew now finds himself trapped in a game he no longer controls. Every move is recorded. Every statement is refuted. Sponsors begin to pull out. Polls show his public favor collapsing. Worse still, internal documents leak, revealing that Drew secretly approached a group of shareholders in an illegal maneuver to seize control of Corinthos Coffee. Sonny now has the evidence. And if he chooses to play his hand, Drew could face not just economic defeat, but criminal investigation. With Christina beside him, Sonny is no longer a solitary force clinging to the past. He becomes a symbol of rebirth. Of unwavering resolve, of not backing down, even when pushed to the brink. And his return, calculated, principled, and led by a new generation like Christina, forces Port Charles to see him in a different light. He's not just reclaiming Corinthos Coffee. He's reclaiming trust. And this time, it's Drew who's forced to retreat. But in this world, when a man like Drew is cornered, what might explode next? Or will he be the next to fall, because he underestimated who really holds control of the game?